There is a silent force that does not scream, does not show off, but that changes everything around. It is the strength of man that dominates himself. In a world where everyone reacts, where any ignored message becomes a crisis, he is the exception. His presence does not depend on external approval because he has consolidated himself internally. This is the man who becomes unforgettable, not because he makes a fuss, but because he represents something rare: stability. True male power is not in dominating others, but in dominating oneself. It's easy to lose your mind when you're ignored. It is easy to beg for attention, to question someone's silence, to confuse presence with dependence. But the Stoic man does not allow himself these emotional shortcuts. He breathes, observes, and comes back to himself, because he understood that his peace is sacred territory, and no one enters there uninvited. While others go out of their way to get noticed, the Stoic is busy being. He doesn't try to impress, he does. And this impact is not immediate, but profound. He remains. He remains in the memory of those who crossed his path, not because he tried, but because he was whole. He is the kind of man who, even in silence, fills the room with his energy. This type of man does not respond to all calls. He chooses carefully where he places his attention. He knows that his energy is valuable, and that giving too much to those who do not show reciprocity is an act of self-abandonment. This posture in itself already differentiates him from the majority, because it is not available for everything, but it is completely present when it chooses to be. The woman notices this difference. She feels that he is not there out of need, nor trying to please. He is there because he chose to, and this conscious choice, this firm and serene position, transforms your company into a privilege. It doesn't seek validation, it offers clarity, and this, for those who live in chaos, is addictive. The journey of this video begins here, exploring the attitudes of a man who understood that the greatest mastery is that of himself. Get ready to immerse yourself in the attitudes that not only make a man remembered, but make it impossible to forget him. Attitude 1. He doesn't react. He observes. In the emotional field, the common man is a ticking time bomb. Any provocation, absence, or change of mood destabilizes him. He wants answers, justifications. He wants to feel safe through external control. But the Stoic man lives another code. He observes. He does not despair of the behavior of others, because he understands that the instability of the other does not define his own structure. Observing is an act of strength. Not reacting immediately is a demonstration of emotional sovereignty. Instead of falling into the game of impulsive reactions, the Stoic man remains on the axis. He understands that by allowing himself to be swept away by disordered emotions, he gives away his power. And what makes it unforgettable is exactly the opposite: its ability to remain whole, even in the midst of the storm. The woman, consciously or not, tests this firmness. She changes her tone, cools down, is absent. Wait to see how far it bends. The common man responds with desperation, duplicate messages, justifications. The Stoic, on the other hand, breathes. He doesn't rush, because he knows that true value is not in how someone treats him on an emotional day, but in how he stays true to himself in any circumstance. This attitude conveys something rare: emotional stability. And stability isn't monotony. It's pure magnetism in a world where everyone is volatile. The woman feels that next to him, she is not dealing with an emotional boy, but with a man who has already faced his own abysses. And that's what reminds her, and come back, or at least never forget. He knows he doesn't need to win an argument or prove anything. His stance says it all. The control he has over his reactions protects him from emotional traps. While the other gets lost in the theater of approval, he chooses dignity. And that choice, constant and silent, shapes his reputation. He's the man no one forgets, because the man who observes instead of reacting governs himself. And whoever governs himself does not need to govern anyone else. He inspires, he elevates, he attracts, not by what he demands, but by what he represents. Attitude 2. He accepts what he can't control. One of the pillars of Stoicism is the acceptance of the uncontrollable. The common man fights against reality, demands promises, tries to change the other, but the Stoic man knows what is not under his dominion does not deserve his peace. He does not try to arrest those who want to go, nor does he despair of the silence of others. He lets go, and in that letting go, he shows strength, not weakness. He understands that life is flux, that people come and go, that the human heart is volatile, and instead of trying to trap the wind, he learns to dance with it. This does not make it passive, but profound. He does not cling to the ephemeral because he is committed to what is essential, his sanity, his integrity, his mission. This attitude is impressive because, unlike the man who runs after to solve, the Stoic observes the withdrawal of the other as a sign, and he acts according to wisdom. If someone moves away, maybe he shouldn't be. This is not pride, it is awareness. He knows that forcing a stay is disrespecting the truth of the moment. The woman, noticing this absence of despair, is confronted with something new. He does not beg, he does not accuse, he does not demand. He respects it, including her right not to want to. This makes him free. And the most curious, this freedom makes it even more appealing, because those who do not need to arrest become impossible to abandon. Accepting the uncontrollable is the art of protecting oneself from unnecessary suffering. He does, but it doesn't drag on. He suffers, but he is not lost. He loves, but he does not annul himself, because he understood that there are things that self-love can never negotiate, and peace is one of them. This man is remembered not for how much he chased, but for how much he knew how to let go. And in this Stoic attitude, he teaches a silent lesson. What is real does not need to be forced. What is true always finds a way back. Attitude 3. He refuses to ask for approval. The man who seeks approval is always indebted to the world. Every choice he makes is tainted by the expectations of others. Each gesture carries a hidden desire to be accepted, praised, loved. But the Stoic does not live like that. He doesn't bow down to be loved. He stands tall to be respected. He knows who he is, and those who know who he is do not negotiate his essence to please. He would rather be rejected for his truth than be loved by an edited version of himself. That clarity sets you free, and the woman, even without knowing it, notices. Because the man who does not need to please transmits confidence. He's not there to convince, he's there to live. This man does not explain himself in excess. It is not justified. It does not try to manipulate perceptions. He is direct, transparent, and that makes him rare. While others do emotional juggling to maintain interest, he just is. And this being, simple and honest, makes him memorable. He knows that the world will always demand something from him, an appearance, an answer, a change. But the Stoic filters. It does not conform to any requirement. He lives from the inside out, and that kind of integrity attracts the right kind of gaze, the gaze that sees value, not utility. This man never begs for attention because he knows that attention bought with effort is disrespect in disguise. He doesn't compete, he doesn't compare himself, he doesn't try to be better. He only cultivates what is real in itself. And the real, when well cultivated, does not need marketing. It speaks for itself. In the end, what makes him unforgettable is not how much he strives to be seen, but how true he is to himself, even when no one is looking. And that, in silence, screams. Attitude 4. He values coherence, not performance. Most try to impress with performance, poses, ready-made phrases, calculated gestures. But the Stoic impresses with coherence. It does not change according to the emotional climate of the other. And this being constant and firm becomes the greatest differential in times of emotional instability. He does not adapt his values to conquer. He doesn't change his routine to please. It does not pretend to be something it is not. He knows that seduction based on disguise exacts a high price, that of authenticity, and the Stoic man would rather lose a woman than lose himself. That's strength. This is magnetism. This coherence makes it predictable in a good way. She knows that next to him, she will not have any negative surprises. He is not volatile. He is not impulsive. He is not needy. It is constant, and this constancy is a cure for hearts tired of inconstancy. Women, especially mature women, quickly realize this quality, because it contrasts sharply with what else is found: empty promises, contradictory attitudes, and insecurity disguised as romanticism. The Stoic does not promise, he demonstrates. And this demonstration is worth more than any statement. He knows himself, and so he behaves with integrity. Even in the face of the temptation to change to please, he chooses to remain true. That doesn't mean rigidity, it means maturity. He knows that those who need him to distort himself to stay don't really deserve it. In the end, he is remembered as the man who never betrayed himself to conquer anyone. Because the true value lies in being consistent, even when it costs a passing companion. Attitude 5. He knows when to be silent. In the theater of human emotions, silence is the speech of the wise. The common man screams, demands explanations, reacts to absence as if it were an affront. The Stoic, on the other hand, understood that silence is often the most powerful response, not out of pride, but out of wisdom. He knows that in the midst of chaos, those who talk too much lose the thread of reason. He chooses his words carefully. He does not respond to every hint. He does not react to every provocation. Their absence of response is not coldness, it is dominance. The man who is silent when the ego wants to scream shows that he is not a slave to his own impulses. This makes it reliable. He is the one who thinks before he speaks, and therefore when he speaks, he weighs more. This kind of silence confuses the emotionally immature profile. She expects a reaction, a test, a lack of control. But he finds serenity, and this serenity disarms, because his silence carries presence. It's not escape, it's firmness. And in this contrast to the emotional hysteria of the modern world, it becomes unforgettable. He understands that explaining the obvious to those who don't want to hear it is a waste of soul. He knows that those who demand proof at all times, in fact, are trying to make up for their own insecurity, and he doesn't play that game. He is not justified in maintaining himself because he is not trying to maintain himself in something that requires sacrifice of his own essence. The woman, realizing that she cannot control her reactions, begins to see in him something rare: stability. She understands that her energy is not available for emotional bargaining. He doesn't play, and so the game is over. And what remains is the weight of truth. He is the man who knows how to be silent to preserve the essential. Silence is more than the absence of sound. It is a solid presence. It is to say, without words, that what he feels is not fragile enough to be exposed in any emotional battle. And that is why this man remains, in mind, in memory, and in desire. Attitude 6. He turns pain into clarity. Pain reveals who we are. For some, it becomes an excuse. For the Stoic man, it becomes the raw material of wisdom. He does not deny pain, but neither does he allow it to define him. He dives, feels, and from there he comes out clearer, more whole, firmer. It turns bounces into redirects, and scars on maps. The common man drowns in his own wound. He looks for culprits, relives pain in cycles, sabotages himself in new relationships. But the Stoic uses pain as a mirror. He doesn't run away. He faces it. And that courage is rare because it demands responsibility. He takes what he feels, understands what he needs to heal, and grows from it. This posture sets him apart because he doesn't keep saying that he overcame. He shows that he has learned. Their attitudes are not reactive, they are conscious. And when a woman crosses paths with a man who doesn't have to prove he's okay, but lives as someone who has healed, she feels it. There is something about his tranquility that touches deeply. He doesn't blame the woman of the past. He doesn't curse experiences. He doesn't generalize love. He honors pain as a stern but fair teacher, and it is this maturity that makes it magnetic, because he knows himself. He has already faced himself, and those who overcome themselves never again submit to less than they deserve. The woman notices. She may not even understand where this depth comes from, but she feels that he has already gone through hell and returned more lucid. He does not run away from pain. He transforms it, and this emotional alchemy makes him irresistible. He is not a wounded man, he is a healed man. And the cured has another frequency. He doesn't need the woman to fill voids because he has already done this work. He approaches by choice, not by necessity. And this conscious choice is what makes you remembered, even after the silence. Attitude 7. He has a mission greater than relationship. Most men get lost in relationships because they don't have a mission other than conquest. Their focus revolves around female attention, and at the slightest sign of disinterest, they become destructured. The Stoic man lives in a different way. He has a greater purpose, a clear direction, and no relationship is more important than your mission. This clarity makes it centered. He is not driven by neediness, but by purpose. He doesn't shape his life around a woman. She may be part of the way, but it's not the destination, and that makes him free, because your well-being does not depend on the presence or absence of anyone. The woman quickly realizes this. She notices that he does not abandon his projects, that he does not change his values out of momentary passion. And this, instead of pushing away, attracts, because he is a man of vision, and vision is magnetic. When he talks about his plans, his ideas, his eyes shine with something that goes beyond the now, and that glow is irresistible. He does not allow himself to be distracted by games, disappearances, or provocations, because he's too busy building something. He has something to protect, his focus, and this makes it impervious to emotional manipulations. He can care, yes, but never to the point of losing himself. This type of man does not beg for attention because he has a routine that requires presence. He lives on the axis. And those who live on the axis are not unbalanced by other people's emotions. He is at peace with the path he walks. And it is this peace that makes him rare. The woman who crosses this man understands that, in order to walk alongside him, she needs to be whole, because he doesn't carry anyone. He shares a journey, but he does not abandon his own road for anyone. And that's why, even when he leaves, he remains, in the memory of those who have seen what a man with purpose is. Attitude 8. He never competes with other men. Competition between men for female attention is a sign of insecurity. The Stoic man does not enter into this game. He does not measure his value based on the performance of others. He knows that his essence is unique, and that those who need to compete to be seen have already lost themselves. He does not try to prove that he is better than the other. He proves every day that he is better than he was yesterday. Your comparison is internal. Your race is against your own limits. It doesn't seek prominence. It builds value. And value, when it is real, does not need to be promoted. It is felt. This puts him in a position of quiet power. The woman realizes that he does not try to conquer by excess. He doesn't speak loudly. He doesn't flaunt. He doesn't impose himself. It just is. And this being is so solid that it neutralizes any competition, because while the others try to be seen, he has already been present. The Stoic man knows that by competing with another for a woman, he places himself below her. He would rather lose the dispute than lose respect for himself. This is not pride, it is self-esteem. He understands that if he needs to prove his worth, it is because he has not been recognized. And where there is no recognition, there is no place for it. This stance makes him incomparable. He is not the strongest, the most beautiful, or the richest, but it is the most centered. And this center, this coherence, makes it a landmark. It passes, but leaves an impression that remains. Because he doesn't need the woman, he chooses her. And those who really choose do not compete for approval. In the end, the man who refuses to compete is the one who wins the most, because he conquers without fighting. And everything that is conquered in this way remains longer in the mind and in the heart. Attitude 9. He doesn't chase, he attracts. The common man believes that the more he chases, the more he shows interest. But the Stoic man knows that there is a fine line between interest and submission. He doesn't run, he attracts. And this attraction is not based on techniques, but on presence. He lives so focused on his purpose that he ends up magnetizing glances effortlessly. He doesn't disappear to manipulate, but because he's busy living. He doesn't respond immediately because he's immersed in his goals. He is not available all the time because his life is structured. This real and not theatrical unavailability awakens something ancestral, respect. The woman feels that he's not spinning around her, and this, instead of pushing it away, brings it closer, because she understands that he has a life of his own. And those who have a rich life become a universe to be explored. He is not predictable, and this unpredictability, coming from a consistent man, is profoundly seductive. This man doesn't beg for crumbs of attention. He walks with dignity. If she wants to come, let her come by choice. If you want to go, let him go in peace. But he does not bow down, because he knows that his presence has value. And value is not begged for, it is recognized. He doesn't play games. He doesn't respond with purposeful delay. He doesn't pretend disinterest. He is just faithful to his routine. And this, in times of lack, disguised as emotional intelligence, makes it special. He shows that it is possible to attract without theatricality, just by being real. In the end, the woman finds herself enveloped not by extravagant gestures, but by the subtle integrity of a man who lives his truth. And that in itself makes it unforgettable. There is something profoundly magnetic about a man who does not seek to prove his worth. He does not try to convince. He does not force permanence. He does not show off his achievements to be validated. Because he already knows what he carries inside. It is whole. And it is this silent wholeness that marks, that touches, that remains. While most live by shaping attitudes to make themselves more desirable, the Stoic man simply is. And this effortless authenticity is more powerful than any game of seduction, because in the end, the woman doesn't connect with the performance. She connects with the truth. And his truth is solid, non-negotiable, real. This man doesn't play. He does not need to use silence as a tactic, nor contempt as a strategy. He lives so aligned with his principles that his mere presence disarms. He doesn't have to disappear to be desired. He just needs to remain who he is. And that, for a world addicted to simulations, is pure gold. The woman feels that he is not competing for attention. She realizes that he is not there out of need, but by choice. And this conscious choice, this presence free of necessity, is what makes her see in him something that is lacking in so many others: emotional sovereignty. He is the man who could have any, but chose to have peace. And for this reason, it does not dissolve in every relationship. He remains. Because he's not trying to leave marks, he's already won. And even if time passes, even if new faces emerge, there is something about him that resists oblivion. His presence echoes, his silence still speaks, his example still inspires. In the end, what makes him unforgettable isn't how much he pleases, it's how much he respects himself. Because when a man respects himself, the whole world bows down, not out of fear, but out of reverence. A man's greatest seduction is not in his physique, his money, or the words he says. It is in its serenity. It's in the way he deals with the unexpected, with the no, with silence, with chaos. The common man reacts. The Stoic breathes. And in that simple gesture, he rises above the majority. The serene soul is a sanctuary. It is the place where nothing enters without permission. The Stoic built this. It didn't happen overnight. He faced his shadows, facing his pain, renouncing everything that was not essential. And now he walks with a kind of lightness that can't be faked because it was conquered. The woman notices this difference at first glance. She feels that he doesn't need her to feel like a man. And precisely for this reason, it becomes desirable. Because there's nothing more engaging than someone who chooses without having to. That offers presence without need, who loves without getting lost. This man is not above emotions. He is above the automatic reaction to them. He does, but he chooses what to do with what he feels. And this awareness makes him respected, because he does not impose, threaten, manipulate. He just lives clearly, and clarity is rarer than beauty. In the end, being unforgettable is not a matter of intensity, but of depth. It's not about immediate impact. It's about staying in the soul of those who crossed your path. And the man who lives with purpose, aligned with his values, does not need to make an effort to mark someone. His life, by itself, is already the mark. True attraction is born of self-control. And the real power lies in being the man who doesn't need to prove anything to anyone, because he has already become everything he needed to be for himself.